Out in a remote corner of Rajasthan, there's a place called Kankalgarh. And in this place, there's a railway station with a chilling secret. It's tied to a dark and painful history, one that just refuses to be forgotten. For almost 100 years, the locals have passed down this one stark warning to anyone who gets a little too close. The advice they give is simple, and it is terrifying. It's born from this really deep-seated fear, and a truth that's, well, even more horrifying than any legend you could make up.
93. Think about that. That's how many years it's been since a single train has dared to actually stop there. We're talking nearly a century of total silence. Trains, they pass right through, sure, but they never, ever stop. So you have to ask, right? What on earth could happen to a train station that it's just completely abandoned? Cursed, even. Well, this is the story of a man who went looking for that answer, and, in the end, became part of the legend himself.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's around 2010. We're following a teacher from Jaipur, a man named Ashok. And, life happens. He unfortunately loses his job. And that single event is what sets him on this collision course with a destiny, well, a destiny that no one could ever imagine. So Ashok's got this impossible choice, right? He's facing some serious financial trouble, and then a teaching job pops up in this remote village, Kankalgarh. Now, everyone he told was like, don't go there. The rumor was you only go to Kankalgarh if you're literally starving. But, desperation's a powerful thing. That and maybe a little bit of pride. And he decides to take the job. In his mind, he's going there to do good, help the kids, make a real difference. So he hops on his motorcycle and heads out, completely clueless that this village and whatever forces are at play there, they don't want to be helped. When he arrives, the place is just unnervingly quiet. The streets are practically empty. The silence is just deafening.
It was like the village itself was trying to push him out. First, the hostel where he's supposed to stay, suddenly closed for maintenance, right? Then the school, locked up tight, not a soul in sight. And then the final blow. He goes back to his motorcycle, and bam, both tires are punctured. He's completely stranded. So here he is, trapped, totally confused, and the sun is starting to go down, and this awful feeling starts to creep in. It feels personal, like he's the butt of some cruel, elaborate joke. But who's pulling the strings here? And what could they possibly want? Just when he's about to give up all hope, this silent old man just appears, seemingly out of thin air. He sits down right next to Ashok and, without a word, just starts eating from a lunchbox. Ashok is just so frustrated at this point. He starts talking out loud, complaining about how strange this village is, how not even a train stops here. The second he says the word train, the old man just freezes. He stops eating, puts his food down, and turns to Ashok with this incredibly grave expression. And that's when he shares the first rule of Kankalgarh. You never, ever talk about the train or the station. Then the old man does something strange. He offers Ashok a place to stay for the night, but there's a catch, a really bizarre one. He explains that today is the 12th of the month. If Ashok comes with him, the door gets locked and he can't leave, not for any reason. Not until the morning of the 14th. I mean, what would you do? The whole thing was just too weird, too unsettling. So Ashok politely turns him down. As the old man gets up to leave, he turns back for one last piece of advice, a final chilling warning. He says, whatever you do, do not spend tonight alone. Well, as night falls, every single door in that village is locked tight. Ashok is out of options, and his tired footsteps lead him to the only shelter he can find, the Kankalgarh Railway Station. So there he is, on a dusty old bench on this completely deserted platform. The silence is just heavy. You can feel it. He's totally exhausted from the whole day, so he just lays his head on his bag and falls into this uneasy, restless sleep. And then, suddenly, he's jolted awake. A train whistle cuts through the dead silence. For just a second, he feels this rush of hope, a way out. Maybe all that stuff the old man said was just local superstition. But when he looks up to see the train, what he sees isn't his ride to safety. No, it was something straight out of a nightmare. An entire train, just roaring down the tracks, completely engulfed in flames.
Pure terror just takes over. Ashok scrambles up and runs, fleeing the station, pounding on the doors of the houses nearby, screaming for anyone to help him. But nothing. Every door stays locked. Every window stays dark. The burning train disappears into the darkness. And then he notices something else, or rather, a lack of something. A new kind of silence. He turns back toward the station, and there's another train. This one isn't on fire. It's just dark, silent, perfectly still. And its doors are wide open, like a silent invitation into nothingness. And then he remembers his bag. His only belongings are still on that platform. So, cautiously, he steps inside the dark train car to grab it. But as he walks, he hears something. Footsteps behind him. And it's not his echo. It's the sound of many, many feet, all shuffling along right behind him. He just freezes, slowly, so slowly. He glances over his shoulder, and his heart just stops. Standing right there, filling the entire train car, are the other passengers. A silent, staring crowd of skeletons. And then, everything went black. You see, what Ashok saw, that horrifying vision, it wasn't just some nightmare. It was a memory. The haunting of Kankalgarh Station is actually a permanent, violent echo of a forgotten tragedy. It's like a scar on the land itself, one that has never, ever healed. The whole legend is actually rooted in a real historical event. Back on February 27, 1931, after the death of the revolutionary Chandrashekhar Azad, the story goes that British authorities retaliated. They allegedly set fire to a train just packed with his supporters and other civilians. And that burning train, that moving inferno, where did it finally come to a halt? Right here, at Kankalgarh Station. The number is just staggering. It's estimated that 1,300 people died in that fire. 1,300 souls. Their last moments were spent in pure agony right on that spot. And now, their spirits are forever bound to those tracks and to that station. So when Ashok finally comes to, he's back on that same bench, and the old man is sitting right there next to him. Ashok manages to stammer out something about the skeletons, and the old man just calmly replies, "They are the station, and the station is them." Then he gets up to lead Ashok away, and as he turns, Ashok sees it. Underneath his clothes, the old man is also nothing but bone. So, the morning of the 14th arrives, and just like the old man said, life in Kankalgarh seems to go back to normal. The villagers all come out of their homes. The school principal, who is expecting the new teacher, starts looking for him. The first thing they find is his briefcase, just sitting there all alone on the station platform. But Ashok himself, he's nowhere to be found. The search finally leads them to this broken-down, abandoned house at the edge of the village. And there, lying in the dirt right in front of it, is a pair of men's shoes. They were Ashok's. He was never seen again, never heard from. Just another soul, it seems, absorbed into the station's dark, haunted history. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other stories like this one are there? How many other victims has this silent station claimed over all those years?